update.com or call them, 810-227-6000. They got great food, great dinners. Every Thursday, I tell you what, if you need a place to go Thursday, like after happy hour or before happy hour or as part of happy hour, they do live music outside. And you want to talk about a crowded place, man. Lots of people. It's awesome. So Thursdays is a great time to go there. Patio entertainment starts at 6:30, but you can get in there early, get a seat, and they do drinks and the whole 9 yards. So they also do a Sunday brunch, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 810-227-6000. Great atmosphere, great food, great drinks. Go out and check them out. We had Eric waited on us last night, and he was awesome. So
good. Good. We have a satisfied customer in studio.
Yeah, I love Burroughs. I love going out there. They do a great job. It's a wonderful place. So, all right. Well, we wanted to talk about the grand jury, right?
Yeah.
This Mueller pulling the number one. This guy is filling his staff with Democrats, right? Which is just nutty. This is just nonsense.
And he's friends with Comey.
So he pulls together a grand jury. But I saw this on Twitter today. Think about where he's pulling the grand jury from.
Yeah.
From
Washington, D.C.
Voters in Washington, D.C., who are 90% Democrats. Really? So how fair?
And most of them are government workers.
And most of them are government workers. Most of them are, or they're on welfare or whatever, because there's some pretty high unemployment there, too, as well. So you think you're going to get a reasonable and responsible grand jury in the city of Washington, D.C., talking about Trump?
Given that the lawyers are all Democrats who are all pro-Hillary, I mean, and they're going to be doing the quizzing of the grand jury prospectus. You know, they're the ones going to ask them questions and who they want seated. I don't.
I don't trust Bob Mueller. This dude is a hack. He's a globalist. He's, as far as I'm concerned, I believe, that's my opinion, that he's on the Clinton payroll. I really do. Or the DNC payroll. This guy is just out there. That's just my opinion.
If not a direct payroll, then indirectly, favorably linked.
He's a big government elitist.
Friends on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yeah. He's just an elitist. They want America to be destroyed. They want to control it. And America, that's where you have to step up and be ready to protect Donald Trump. You do. You have to get involved. Let's take a call from, we got Tim Walberg calling in. That's awesome. Tim, welcome to the show.
Well, good to be on my monthly visit.
We've missed you quite a bit lately, haven't we? Sorry about. I think the last time you called in, we screwed up. So
sorry about that.
It was I'd forgotten right out of my head, Tim. So what do we got going on, Tim? Anything good?
Well, we're back in the district. We're meeting with a lot of constituents. We're doing manufacturing visits, speaking to Rotaries, having town halls, and just generally being back in the land of the living again. So it's good to be here. I wish the Senate were not home. I wish they were still back in Washington trying to do the job that the people called them to do and not backing away. And it was a major disappointment when John McCain upended the opportunities to keep moving forward at this point in time on the Obamacare repeal and replace. But as you know, Gary, I'm always an optimist, saying that even though it slid off the table Friday a week ago, yet doesn't say that it can't get back on. And I think that's where the pressure of the people that I feel, certainly as a member of Congress, but I think senators ought to feel it as well, because they were the ones that let us down and haven't completed yet and need to get back to the table.
Yeah. Is there a way, Tim, to gather those Republicans from the House side out front of the Capitol and hold your signs and do the resolution or whatever you have to do, just do the big press conference and pressure the Senate to do something? I mean, frankly, in my book, I'm done with 60 votes. And I think Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate are just cowards because they're worried that the Democrats will come back and use 51 votes on us. If you do a good job, pass an agenda that we the people want, you'll never have the Democrats coming back with 51 votes. I mean, I just don't believe it. And I want Speaker Ryan to step up and say, Mitch, it's on you. We have passed 900, whatever number of bills that you guys have done, and yet the Senate does nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We hold the 60 votes to protect ourselves, when the Democrats are in possession. And so if you lower it to 50, it's still the same back and forth. It's still both teams get the same rule, depending on who's got control of the Senate, right?
Yeah.
So what's it matter whether it's 60, 50? Both teams are going to get those same rules eventually. So I'm not seeing why we have to hang on to 60 because, the Dems may get back in control.
I mean, do you have any power, Tim, at all? Does the House have any ability to step up and push the Senate?
We have no power to change it other than through hopefully giving them some feedback that gives them heartburn from their constituents. And Paul Ryan, for 3 years now, in fact, has been talking with Mitch McConnell and other Senate leaders and saying it's time to end the filibuster rule. At the very least, end it for things that we constitutionally have to put forward, like the budget, like confirmations, and go back at the very worst, go back to a requirement. If you're going to filibuster, you've got to stand on the floor of the House or the Senate, and you've got to talk for 38 hours or whatever it takes. You can't just do it by paper and mail it in. So that has been a push. Paul Ryan came out even a week and a half ago before the vote was taken, encouraging that to happen. And again, it comes down to the people. Ted Cruz and others who have said that, listen, if we wouldn't have had the opportunity for filibuster during the course of the first 2 years of the Obama administration, they not only would have gotten through things like Obamacare and Dodd-Frank, they'd also got through cap and trade. Well, granted, that could have been the case. However, they did get through Obamacare, they did get through Dodd-Frank, and right now you know for a fact that if they get the majority again, they're going to do away with the 60-vote filibuster requirement.
Absolutely.
They're not going to put up with it again. And as I've said to Cruz and others, listen, you're talking minority mentality if you're talking that way about sometime being back in the majority or the minority.
Planning to
lose. You've got to be doing the things that you told the people you would do now. If you do it, and you truly believe that it'll bring about positive impact, which we do, then you're not going to go back in the minority. And if you do go back in the minority sometime, you'll have a foundation of good law in place and good policy in place that's going to be as difficult for the Democrats to rip out as we're finding to rip out Obamacare and other things. So yeah. I think we got to get back to a majority mentality, and I'll keep singing that line to my Republican colleagues. Sadly, we have a problem here in this state that we don't have any Republican senators,
yet,
and it's a much more difficult challenge in talking to Democrat senators that we do have.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that the Republicans need to remember. When the Democrats have a majority and they push all their crazy laws through, within a matter of months or years, the economy goes bad, things get terrible, and people go, holy cripes, what did those Democrats do? We're seeing that now after 8 years of Obama. When the Republicans push through good common sense stuff, you're not going to get that same blowback because things are going to be better. So I don't understand the reticence of Mitch McConnell not to go ahead and do this. It's just cowardly on my book. Or it makes me get my conspiracy hat on and think Mitch is in cahoots with the Democrats and doesn't want anything to change. I don't want to believe that, Tim, but for him to consistently keep doing this, it boggles my mind.
Well, it bothers me that there are senators Republicans who are going to keep the Senate from being out of session so that there cannot be any vacant. How's that go again, Tim? The appointments, the recess appointments.
Recess appointments.
Like, what is that about? I mean, that's just a shot at Trump right off the bat, and those of us who supported Trump. And these are Republicans. Am I missing something?
Well, they're Republicans to some degree in name only. And when you see Susan Collins and Murkowski and McCain and Lindsey Graham, you have to wonder about what side they are on. And
I don't anymore.
While we wish John McCain the opportunity to beat this cancer, yet you are a U.S. Senator. You've got to do your job. If you can't do it, then you need to resign and carry on with your life. But until then, you have to do what the people said they wanted you to do when they elected Donald Trump as president, and a majority in the House and Senate of members who truly do support Donald Trump but aren't able to complete it because of a few recalcitrants who stand in the way because of archaic Senate rules. And we're going to keep pushing that, but again, it's only the Senate that can change it, and we're stuck with it right now, so we'll keep pushing over good legislation to them. I'd encourage, before I forget, your listeners to go to a new website that is another attempt by the Republican House Conference to get some type of word out and get an echo chamber going, because it's impossible through any media source on the national level, any media source. And I say that, again, any media source on a national level, it's impossible to get it out. So programs like yours and others, this is the opportunity. But there's a new website called www.didyouknow.gop didyouknow.gop. That will tell you play-by-play commentary of the positive things, thankfully some that have been signed by the president, but others that sit in the Senate waiting for action, things like Kate's Law, things like the Dodd-Frank repeal and replace that are still over there, as well as the Obamacare repeal and replace that we sent to them. So it will encourage you to see some things that have been accomplished. It'll encourage you to see the things that we push forward as a result of keeping our promises to the American public, to the Senate. But it'll also, I think, whip up a stronger effort to get Senate to end the rules of filibuster and push forward good common sense American philosophy and legislation that the president wants to sign, he's ready to sign, and it ought to go in front of his desk.
Yeah. So a lot of this air, the reason we can't get this kind of good information out, Tim, is because so much of the air is taken up by this alleged Russian collusion garbage that they keep. And now Mueller's got his grand jury and everything else. Months, years now, we've been looking at whether there was Russian involvement, Russian collusion, blah, blah, blah. And they found nothing. And yet we have a grand jury now. But we have actual proof of Hillary Clinton, Lynch, Comey committing crimes, right? They're leaking information, admittedly leaked information, and yet there's no grand jury for that. When can we see the House, as a Trey Gowdy's group or whoever, put together a grand jury against Clinton and Comey and Lynch?
Well, the fortunate thing is Trey Gowdy and the Oversight and Government Reform Committee is now taking up those issues and has done the due diligence to get the jots and tittles in place, and you're going to have people like Loretta Lynch in front of that committee, and that's the process we go by. The grand jury comes, again, from the executive branch. The Attorney General, Sessions, has some opportunity to bend and shape that if he determines so, and we'll see what happens. But in the House, we're doing the process by which we have responsibility, subpoena powers, and all of the rest. And we'll see what Trey Gowdy comes with. I can also add that the Ethics Committee, House Ethics Committee, was the one that really brought to a head and realization of Wasserman Schultz's issue with her IT guy. And the reason he was caught at the airport was because of what the House Ethics Committee had found out, and the investigations brought in that ultimately found out he was leaving town and he was picked up. So that's continuing on, and I think you'll see it develop. You won't hear about it in the national media, because they just won't talk about that.
Right.
But the efforts still go on.
Yeah, well, that's racism. They picked them up because of race.
Here's one thing I would like to see, and I know you go to the gym there at the Capitol Hill, Tim, and you see Paul Ryan. I don't see Paul Ryan enough on Fox News. I don't. And we never saw John Boehner either. I don't know I know he's busy, right? But you know what? As the leader of the House, get that bully pulpit of Fox News. Eric Bolling will have him on. Neil Cavuto will have him on. Paul needs to take some time.
Tim needs to be on Fox
News. Tim, yes, you need to get. It's election year next year, Tim. You need to get out there. If he can't do it, you could be his surrogate on things. Well, you know what I mean?
If you have some pull with Fox News,
I will. If you're willing to go on, I will bend over backwards to reach out to Fox News and try and get you on. If you're ready to do that, Tim, I will do that for you.
Well, I'm always ready to do that, and we've been on Cavuto in the past. Sean Hannity's a waste, but the Speaker, point blank, has told Sean he's willing to come on anytime Sean wants him on, as long as the schedule works. And he was on there a number of times beginning this year, but it appears that Sean has decided to black out the Speaker at this point. So if you have any pull, I know that my good friend and colleague and Speaker, Paul Ryan, is willing and very articulate on there, and that's the problem with Sean. When he gets someone who is articulate and actually knows what the issues are and the truth behind it, and it goes against Sean's talking points, he doesn't have them on anymore. So if you can somehow help us on that, I know Paul, I've talked with him, and Paul originally was on Fox extensively, way beyond what the Boehner ever was on, and we were delighted with that. But now it seems that only CNN and others are interested in having Paul on, and we ought to have Fox do it.
All right. Well, we can certainly put some pressure on through Twitter and through Facebook and whatnot. So we'll do what we have to do to try and get. But I think that needs to be. And if they won't take Paul, then they need to take people like you or Trey Gowdy. At least I love it when I see Trey Gowdy on there because he's always
articulate
and entertaining. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but certainly, and Tim,